Hi, John Traver here at Traver Connect. Thanks for joining us on our Service BDC video today. If you've already partnered with us, we appreciate your partnership over these past years. If you're new to us, we look forward to getting to hear your story and come alongside you relative to Service BDCs. When you hear the term Service BDC, the first word for me that comes to mind is calls. That's what really a Service BDC is going to be built around, both inbound and outbound calls. Those calls are going to load your shop, it's going to drive your RO count, and ultimately, it's going to tee up your next retail unit. One reason the Service BDC is so successful today, so important today, is it has a massive amount of opportunity in the form of those incoming calls. The cell phone changed everything. It's increased the amount of calls to dealerships, and as a result, we have to have a team of people centralized to take those calls. It's always been busy in service, but today, when you ask dealers, they tell you they need help.
With only 3 service writers, it's virtually impossible for my service writers to load the shop effectively and efficiently in order to keep my shop full.
The second thing I'd be thinking about if I were you is, what do my calls sound like? What is our statement of work in those calls? Are we asking for email, address, phone number? Do we use a time and mileage approach to make sure we're pre-selling to any additional needs, or are we just order taking and then trying to take care of the customer when they get there and tell them we need their car all day? So what you want to do is establish a clear roadmap for how your calls are going to be handled. We'll help you do that, whether it's virtually here through our BDC or we do it with your team at your dealership. So perhaps you're like some dealers, when they hear us talk about centralizing the calls here in Dallas, Texas, they wonder what that call might sound like.
One thing I like about Traver is that my customers feel as though they're dealing with someone within my own store. I've had several customers come to my store and ask to speak to Chelsea when my people that realize Chelsea doesn't work there, she actually works in the call center in Dallas.
I have you scheduled for the recall. Was there anything else?
Let me tell you, you're like the most professional person I've ever spoken to, I think.
My pleasure.
Good job.
Thank you.
No, I'm serious. I'm being completely serious. No, we don't need anything else. That was great.
You have a wonderful day.
Okay, you're doing a great job. You sound good on the phone. So
Oh,
when I see Herb, I'll tell him he's a great person on the phone.
We're built for Service BDCs, 60,000 square feet of workstations and personnel trained to take inbound calls. There's a handful of ways we can help you. We can help you with a virtual Service BDC where we take your calls. We can help you with outbound campaigns, filling in those open spots in your schedule, turnkey, not just getting the customer to call, but actually taking the call and loading it in your scheduler. 3, training for your business development manager, for your business development rep. How do they take these calls? We'll bring them into our customer experience center if they're a BDM, or we'll provide online training for those BDRs. Leadership education for you. You're wondering, what are my KPIs? What should my staffing plan be? We can walk you through this in less than a day. And then tools, everything from texting, mobile payments, even in-dealership software to help your BDRs. So hopefully you see we're built for Service BDCs. This is what we do, not what we talk about, and we hope to be talking to you soon.
What a ride so far! Up next, we hop into the mobile service vans with Ed Roberts, then Jason Frank of Quantum 5, and a lot more at Rev It Up right after the break.
Vendor management is a nightmare. Controllers, how often have you wasted time keeping track of disorganized vendors, reconciling stacks of inconsistent paperwork? Service managers, you're juggling third-party vendors wondering who's on which project or whether all work orders have been approved. Used car managers, your vehicles lose value while stuck in the shop due to inefficient vendors. Ready to stop wasting time, energy, and money? Introducing Serve, a comprehensive solution to all your vendor problems. Controllers enjoy a single accounting system with all vendors billed the same way. Invoices are automatically generated and reconciled using full DMS integration. Increase transparency and accountability to a new level while reducing legal exposure. Use your time to focus on every dollar spent. Service managers know exactly who is working on which cars, who approved work orders, and how long each step takes. Let our system track progress so you can get the job done faster. Used car managers benefit from improved service efficiency. Get your vehicles out to the front line before their value depreciates. Serve includes a platform for your vendors to become Serve certified. Dealerships receive peace of mind knowing their vendors are trained and have correct insurance and license information. Even brand new vendors can be known quantities. Serve's user interface is simple, intuitive, and powerful. The main dashboard breaks down your departments by vehicle, work orders, and available techs. Our work order page shows the progress of every order by vehicle, including the worker and job status with an easy barcode for scanning the information. A line item view shows all your work orders together. No more guesswork. Know exactly where your orders are. Our live vendor portal is your home for financial information. Controllers can view how many work orders have been submitted and how much they've billed with one-click contact for managers. Invoice Control displays all your invoices for any period of time with totals underneath. On the left side, see every car or work order ever done for a vendor. All invoices are filterable by VIN, stock number, and more. In today's changing world of valet-type services, Serve's Live View puts your porters at your fingertips. Check availability, schedule new trips, and effortlessly track times and efficiency. From invoicing to employee management, Serve handles all your vendor needs. By making life simple, everyone benefits, including your vendors. Serve Automotive. Simplify your business today.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable, everyone. I'm Gene Girdley, along with your host, Ted Ings, and a special guest who we love to have at the Fixed Ops Roundtable, Ed Roberts. Welcome to Rev It Up.
Thank you, Gene. Thank you, Ted, for having me on here. I'm looking forward to today's event.
Everyone, Ed Roberts is no stranger to this conference. He's the Fixed Ops Director of Bozart Ford Lincoln in St. Augustine, Florida. He's a Best Practice Award winner here at the Fixed Ops Roundtable, in great demand. Ed, welcome back to the event.
Thank you. I'm proud to be here.
Hey, I thought we would take a few minutes today and talk a little bit about your mobile service and how that has grown and expanded, and bring everybody up to speed on what you're doing there, because it seems to be more timely today in February than it's ever been in the past.
The pandemic brought that to surface where it really allowed us to expand that. And it isn't that the demand wasn't there, but it highlighted that the demand was there. And mobile service and pickup and delivery has just been a phenomenal tool in our toolbox over the last 14 months.
Now, you got into this way before the pandemic, though. You were already on the bandwagon and leading the charge. How did all this come about? Just take us back a little bit.
So we've been doing mobile service for probably about 4 years. And that goes back to taking care of fleets, and that's doing it with sending our technician out to a fleet company and taking care of their stuff, whether it's recalls, whether it's a bunch of oil changes, whatever it may be, but not necessarily with branded trucks. We didn't bring the branded trucks out until December of 19 because we felt like we had a huge opportunity to run that billboard up and down the street with doing the same thing that we was doing. And then the pandemic hit in March, and man, lo and behold, that gave us all kinds of opportunities to do with mobile service and pickup and delivery. They both complement each other very well.
And you've expanded that now, right? How many vehicles do you have on the road?
I have 2 now, and one on order. I will have that one rolling hopefully by the end of this month.
Okay. What would you say is the biggest discovery you've made so far in being able to offer this service?
By far, customer acceptance. Customers love having mobile service come to them. We're servicing them on their terms for the first time ever in the automotive industry. We've always kind of forced them come in at these hours, be here at these hours to pick up, hang out in the showroom, whatever. We've forced them to do things on our terms, and this, for the first time ever, puts it in their hands.
You know, that says a whole lot. You know, take me back a little bit. Okay, so you got into the mobile service. Any resistance on part of the staff there at your dealership, or Ed, we really don't need to be doing this? What was that like?
There's always naysayers, and and then adding the trucks, because that certainly added an expense. The break even was certainly a lot easier before I had trucks, and I got to pay for $100,000 rides with tools and whatever else as I put trucks out there. So you got to know your break even. And there's always the ones, well, what are you going to do when it rains, or what are you going to do? And certain parts of the country where there's snow and there's inclement weather more often, that throws a wrench in there. But a lot of times you just got to find a way to work around it. When it rains here in Florida, all you got to do is wait 10 minutes and the sun's back out. Thankfully, it's the Sunshine State. So that certainly helps. But yes, there's always the naysayers, and it's about pushing through the obstacles and finding a way to say yes rather than just going with the easy answer of no.
How about from the customer's viewpoint? How do they see this in terms of service, not just service, but in terms of receiving good or great service?
Ted, I got to tell you, I'm not really fully hitting all of my customers that I could hit with this. I do not advertise it on my website yet. There's pictures of my mobile truck on there, but I keep these things fully booked every single day, 5 days a week, without putting it out there. So most of our customers don't know it. So really, I'm still in a reactionary state and keeping it very full. And I got to get to the point where I'm proactive with it so our customers can have control. But when you do that, I mean, there's things that we do that because there is a break-even point, and I got to make sure that we're driving home the opportunities to pay for these vans and pay for these technicians and train the other technicians that I have on there. So there's different things that we do. We go out to a customer, we'll put SOP parts on that they came in for the last service repair, and we would have to typically inconvenience them to bring them back. And I don't want to inconvenience them. I want to respect their time. So I want to go out to them and put that component on. One, it keeps that thing from aging on my shelf, for them not having to come in or not coming in or coming on a Saturday when that technician's not working. Now another technician's got to put it on. He's crying because he didn't order the part and he doesn't know if it's going to fix it or why he's putting it on there. So it just it adds that convenience that customers love. And then we do recalls. But let's just take that for an example. I'm going out to put an SOP part on. I'm going to drive down the road to find that customer. And I'm going to pass other car dealerships. I'm going to pass used car lots. And they have some of my branded vehicles on their lot that they can't work on from a warranty standpoint because they're not that brand of a store. And they've got recalls on them. And I've already searched the internet, found the recalls that they have, found their inventory, found the recalls they have on those vehicles, and my trucks are loaded to do that. So that I can make those stops as productive as possible. We can go out and roll out to 4 dealerships on the way to the customer's house, take care of our customer, take care of those dealerships, and really drive home some value in that truck.
So you'll go to a customer's home, a consumer's home, like you and me, and you'll go right to their driveway and you'll perform the service work there.
Absolutely. The one of the things that one of my guys said, talking about naysayers, is what are you going to do about a subdivision when somebody says you can't be there? And I said, well, I can roll through any subdivision. And down here in Florida, it's the Sunshine State. We got heating and cooling vans. So we got an AC company in there working on servicing somebody's AC. Sure. It is no different taking my van in there versus them taking their van in there. They're not stopping at the amenity center and asking for permission. They're rolling into the customer's address, taking care of their AC. I'm rolling into the community, taking care of our customers' vehicle needs.
So once you've been to someone's home and you've done this work for them, maintenance, do they continue to want the mobile service, or are they coming back to the dealership? What happens the second and third time?
They'll wait for it. If once we go to a customer's house and take care of them, they will call, and that's the first thing they ask for. Is this something that you guys can do at my house? And most of the time it is, because we try to find a way to say yes. And if we have to say no, we got to ask ourselves internally, why can't we do it out there? Is it not safe? And the safe is the key factor to whether we'll determine whether we can't do it in the field or not.
Now, I know that Ed Roberts is the linchpin to the 2-person team in service that you got started in Express many years ago. How many people do you man in the trucks as they go out?
Trucks are very similar to how we run Express service and how we run our service department. It's 2 people. It's really a lead and someone that's growing. It's an aspiring person that will graduate on one of these 2 and move in to get his own truck when the 3rd truck gets here. So we're growing people, and I have 2 people. And let's say that we go out in the field to take care of something, and we take care of that, but we find something else. We find an oil leak. The oil pan's leaking. I'm not going to fix somebody's oil leak in the field, but I can offer to that customer to let my second person bring it back to the dealership, and my primary driver can go on to the next stop. And then my second technician can catch the parts van or catch whatever and get back to it. Maybe sometimes it's an Uber. Only a couple times it's been an Uber, but there's other ways that we can get him back up to the van. Because it's had a destination work, and it's not just rolling up down the interstate. So we know where it's at. We track our vehicles, and we can send them back to it.
That makes a lot of sense. Ed, is there a radius that you'll do business with, a certain amount of mileage from the home base at the dealership?
Everything's different. I will travel some distance if it's multiple vehicles. So for fleet, the furthest we traveled was 147 miles to Orlando from where we are here in St. Augustine. But we took care, and I sent both vans down because we took care of 32 vehicles there.
Wow.
There was a recall that came out with a fleet company, and there was a lot of dealers between us and them. But not having the downtime was what was lucrative to them. And so they prepared for those vehicles to be there for a company meeting, and we went down and took care of them.
And you mentioned the downtime for a business. That's not typically a question that would come up when we're setting an appointment for service or, talking to the customer. Something that would be really unspoken, but would be in their mind, a big factor in, where they get their where and when they get their service done, right?
Exactly. When we service a customer, there's certain things that you got to respect. You got to respect their time, and make sure you do it right. And you'll make sure you give them the vehicle back as good or better condition than what you got it from. But when you service a fleet customer, all those things has to happen, and the importance of how long is it going to be off the road, because these companies didn't buy vehicles for them to just sit somewhere and not be moving. They bought them because they need an employee in them rolling up and down the road and doing what they do. So minimizing that, making that the priority on a fleet customer, minimizing that time of downtime, or capitalizing on the time when they're not driving it and taking care of those things allows them to continue to be productive. You bring a customer in, a fleet customer that there's a company down the street from us, and I won't use their name, but they service heavy equipment, and they pay their guys decent money. Let's call it $25 an hour. Well, if he brings that truck here, I'm 10 minutes down the road from him in the opposite direction he needs to go, 10 minutes to ride it up. Next thing you know, he's here for an hour and a half. Then the time of getting back and forth, they've paid him $75 just to bring the vehicle in, plus they still have to pay for the service. So if I can go to his job site where he's going to be at doing his thing, they're selling his hours as well as me taking care of his vehicle, and it's a win-win for everybody.
All right, so take us on board the truck right now. Are both vehicles equipped the same, or are they different?
There's very few differences between the two trucks. We'll continue to make them a little bit different as we go forward. I have two full-size Transits right now, and a third one on the way. The rest of the trucks that we do going forward will be smaller vehicles, probably Transit Connects. And won't be equipped the same, but these can handle most everything out in the field. Unless we're going to take apart an engine or something, we're not going to do that. And so they are equipped very similarly. They both have air compressors on them. They have oil systems on them. They have ways to jump vehicles off with the jump box, or to connect to a vehicle and let it charge long term if they need to. They can connect to the front of the vehicle and charge something if it needs to charge, because sometimes the jump box doesn't necessarily transfer power. And sometimes to properly diagnose a vehicle, you do have to charge that thing up. So we have ways of doing that. It's just different from what you would do in the shop. So and we will continue to evolve. Every time we do a job, I can't say every time, but at least on a weekly basis, we find something that we could do to make these trucks perform better or more efficiently out in the field. And that's key. These things will never operate at 100% efficiently, because there's road time, there's travel time, there's those things. But there is ways that there's things that we can do to pick up those efficiencies to get it as close to that as possible. And that's why I mentioned earlier, find your break even. And then that's what you got to outrun, and then find ways to get efficient to outrun that further. And the more you outrun that, that's when you're really driving it home and creating that customer loyalty.
I imagine you're getting better and better at this with each month that goes by. So walk me through it. You've got the two techs on the vehicle. Tech number one is, maybe a technician who's aspiring to be a future advisor or a manager. Is that right? And tech number two is someone still coming up in the development stage?
Tech one is really someone that is aspiring to grow to be something different. But what that really means is not all technicians are good communicators.
Right.
And if we want to send them out in the field, they need to be good communicators.
Sure.
So tech number one is that guy that's capable of communicating with somebody and really being able to express what the issues are and being able to build value in it. And just having that other person, that aspiring technician with them, growing from them, learns how to communicate with them. And so they kind of get a different career path of how to learn how to run a mobile truck, deal with customers, kind of a full line service center all in one. That they're the advisor, they're the parts person, they're the technician, they're everything. So having that lead, he's the guy that overcomes the obstacles and kind of breaks down the barriers. And then the other guy just learns that you don't have to reach stopping points. These are just opportunities to overcome something.
You mentioned scheduled maintenance. You mentioned recalls on the visit to Orlando with the 32 vehicles, special order parts. What other services would you perform in the field?
Well, one of the things that we do is, for whatever reason, sometimes customers can't come into the service center. They may have called and made an appointment, but they couldn't make it in because life happened. Something happened. They had something going on, or their animal got sick and they had to take it to the vet. there's a reason why they didn't make it, and they missed their appointment.
So they missed their appointment. They were a no-show. You're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
So they missed their appointment. They still have a need. They didn't call us an appointment. They didn't have a need. So we'll reach out to them and go to them and service their vehicle, whatever that may be. I don't really want to state that we do this, this, and this. We take care of maintenance, SP parts, recalls, anything fleets, missed appointments, roadside service. A story I could give real quick is we had a customer that called in kind of frantic. They was on their way to their kid's basketball game. They had to feed their kid before they got there because the coaches always want to eat an hour or so before they start. And the vehicle wouldn't start once they was leaving. Battery's bad. They called roadside, called us frantically. And we all know how roadside is. It's a couple hours for them to get there.
Yeah.
We went to them in the mobile van, replaced their battery, got their kid to the ball game, and they text me all through the game with the updates of the scores. And that would have never happened without having that opportunity to go out and do that.
It's an amazing story. But you know what? That's the kind of thing that happens. All right. What advice, Ed, would you give dealers and fixed ops directors such as yourself, service directors who are watching, who are thinking about getting in the mobile service game? Maybe they're getting ready to tip their toe in the water. What would you advise them here?
Find a way to say yes, and you don't have to do it with a branded vehicle. You have technicians out in the shop that has vehicles they can drive. They have tools. There is work in your area. If you're not 100% productive with your guys now, find a way to keep them busy. There is work in your area that doesn't roll through your service center. And you can find that work with either going out to a mobile to other dealerships or finding a way to bring those vehicles to you with pickup and delivery.
Love it. Hey, Ed, great job as always. So keep up the work. We want to get an update from you here in a couple of months on when the next vehicle rolls in and how you've advanced and taken this to the next level. So congratulations to you. Ed Roberts, everybody, here today from Bozard Ford Lincoln in St. Augustine, here at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you, Ted. Thank you, Gene.
Hey, it's always a pleasure, Ed. And folks, stick around because Jason Frank with Quantum 5 is next on Rev It Up.
Hi, everybody. David O'Brien from Quantum 5.
And Ken Herforth with Quantum 5. So, Dave, we built Quantum about 6 months ago, and why don't you give some insight as to why and what makes Quantum 5 different as a training program in the auto industry?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Ken. The purpose of all of this was born out of watching the evolution of digital retailing and technology in dealerships. And what was easy to observe was our teams in those spots needed skills to help the human relationships grow as people, our customers, interacted with the technology. So we focused on creating skills that would enable the team, and we combined that with being able to deliver it in person or in a live virtual format so that those teams could make any dealership's process more effective.
Yep. And not only do we know those skills are helpful for those things, we know they help each individual just in their everyday life. And it was important for us to make sure that we could drive sustainment and retention and proficiency over time. And we know too often when the trainer leaves the room, people retain only about 15%. And we wanted to push that up. So we have a business model and technology that we use that incorporates people working with people that when the trainer leaves, they continue to help build those proficiencies over time. Give us a little insight as to what the auto industry is saying about Quantum 5.
Ken, thank you again, because what we've all heard, right, is this blend of the human and technology to keep the training alive has actually created results for dealers. We're seeing greater CSI. We're seeing dealers with increased dollars per RO. We're seeing dealers specifically with salespeople who are selling more vehicles every month. And the bottom line is dealers are getting an ROI on training, and the humans interacting with customers are bettering their families.
Yep. Thanks, Dave. It really is an exciting time for us. We're having a blast. We know our customers are having a blast. Please look us up online at quantum5.ai. We'd love to engage with you, learn more about, listen to you, and have you learn more about us.
Well, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. And with us today is David O'Brien, who's the president and CEO of Quantum 5. Dave, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Oh, Ted, I'm so glad to be here. I'm so glad January's already gone and we've moved into February. This is awesome.
Dave, it's early in the year and a lot of organizations are making their plans for training, and you've got an amazing new technology that's come out. And obviously training is dear to my heart. Tell us a little bit more about it and how it came about.
Ted, what we wanted to do at Quantum was we wanted to think differently about how people like you and I, how could we support the training after we leave town? And so Quantum started as this idea that said, let's make sure we get everybody the skills necessary to make every system work, whether it was Ted Ings, whether it was X Time, whatever it was. How do we make that work better from a skill standpoint? But then how do we avoid that dilemma of you and I flying back to whether it's Scottsdale or Philadelphia, right? How do we help them keep learning better from us than just a video or just a live call? And so what we've been working on is a technology that combines an enhanced application of people and the ability to deliver content. And we're so excited as we're about 5 days away from releasing that to our clients, and going to be great fun helping salespeople and service advisors all across the country.
Dave, I think that any one of our attendees today can relate to the sustainment portion of training and how important that is. So really fascinated about what you've got going. Now tell us a little bit about who's going to be speaking today and who's coming up here at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
So, I've been lucky in my life, Ted, like you have, to collect what I call good humans. And so I had this good human that I met a long time ago as a service advisor and a service manager who then built an unbelievably fun career for himself. Training salespeople all across North America in service and in sales. You're going to get to meet Jason Frank, who is my partner, who's our vice president of our company, who's going to share his passion for how do we help advisors and managers in the coming year.
Jason Frank is the Executive Vice President at Quantum 5. Jason, what a buildup from Dave O'Brien just there introducing you. Jason, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Ted, thank you so much. And thanks to Gene as well. It's such a pleasure to be associated with the Roundtable and be able to speak today and give our viewers some insights into what we're doing and take away some tidbits too to go apply at your dealership today.
We actually got the conversation started on this a few months back, and I've been really intrigued and fascinated about your technology. As I mentioned to Dave, with training very close to my heart as well. So with that, I'm going to let you take the floor and tell us what's ahead in the retail automotive industry. Everyone, Jason Frank from Quantum 5.
Thank you so much. So when I first started talking to Ted about Rev It Up, two things came to mind immediately when I started talking about what I want to discuss with everybody. And racing is very near and dear to my heart, and so is military aviation, or basically aviation in general. So when I look at start your engines, it's more about when I go to a racetrack. The biggest thrill for me is when those fighter jets fly over in formation and in such a tight pack, and it's getting ready for those cars to start racing around that track. I couldn't think of a better mix than to have start your engines. And let's start to think about how thinking like a jet fighter can help increase profit for 2021. And I'll go over a little bit and just give you a little synopsis about who I am. A 20-year veteran of working in and out of dealership service departments, 10 years of enabling others for success in dealerships. I've been in and out of service departments as a service advisor, as a manager, as a director, as a trainer, and as a consultant. And I can't find anything else that I like to do than help other people get better at that position. I do have some good habits, though. I got a wife of 20 years and 3 sons. I'd like to say my bad habits. I'm F1 racing obsessed, an aviation student and dreamer, and I still am an avid motocross racer myself. So really my intention today to provide you some thoughts about 3 things that really can have impact immediately if you start doing in your service departments. And so we go back to the fighter jets and why should you care? Well, when we look at naval air wings, and I'm going to stick with the Navy. I don't want to put the Air Force guys out to the side here, but let's look at naval air wings and a good service department. They really operate in the same manner. So when you look at it, they select the right people to fly those planes. When you go into the Naval Academy, you're going in with the right person that's going to be ready to fly that airplane. And the Navy also helps skill those pilots up and keeps them skilled throughout the process. And the Navy has built a culture on teams, processes, and accountability. So when we look at service departments, we have to ask ourselves the question, are we selecting the right people? Are we giving them the skills or enabling them to get the skills and keep them skilled up at doing that position day in and day out? And are you building an intentional culture built on teams? So there's 3 crash and burn deterrents that we're going to look at for 2021 that are going to enable you to be more profitable. But I first want to go back to the Naval Academy. And the person that you have up on the screen, most people know who the Admiral is. The Admiral is David Robinson. And David Robinson is quite a remarkable story when you talk about the right person, the right skills, and the right culture. So with David Robinson, most people don't understand that he didn't start playing basketball until he was a senior in high school. And he was 5'9" for the majority of his teenage years. It wasn't until his senior year that he actually started playing high school basketball. And in that year, he actually grew to 6'5" in 1 year. And being a Navy brat and traveling around with his father, who was an officer in the Navy, he enlisted at the Naval Academy. And it wasn't that he got into the Naval Academy because he was a good basketball player. The guy was smart, really smart. Went in with a mathematics major, came in with a 1325 SAT score. So David Robinson really had a lot of those skills going in. He actually got an exemption, though, to actually play college basketball for the midshipmen. And when David Robinson was in school, they thought, well, he's probably not going to grow anymore. And the superintendent granted that exemption. He wanted to be a Top Gun pilot. So while he was in college, he actually grew to 7 feet. So at that point, David Robinson got nixed from being a pilot because he was just too tall. He couldn't even serve on an aircraft carrier because he was over 6'5". So I want to do some correlation here between he was the right person, probably the right culture, but it wasn't the right fit. So as we move forward, how do we recruit like the Navy? So let's look at a service department. And let's look at the Navy and use those back and forth. Only the right people. And so I want to start with 3 things. The first thing is you have to start interviewing strategically. And when we talk about interviewing strategically, when you work with service advisors coming in, and this is for the managers out there that are hiring for service advisors, you want to put them through some simulations. A simulation could include taking an MPI and having them sell it to you as if you were the customer. See how they're presenting. See if they can connect some dots that way. You want to use some truth serum. In Dr. Brad Smart's book, Top Grading, he talks about A, B, and C players. And generally, we really don't know if we're getting an A, B, or C player until we actually get them on the floor. But you can use a little bit of truth serum by using some tips that Dr. Brad Smart talks about in terms of having a candidate actually coordinate their own reference calls. Example would be, I'm the service manager. I say, give me I have this much time available, and have the candidate actually coordinate those calls with the hiring manager. What you'll see is the B players will probably shake their heads and go, oh, I think I can do that. And then you'll get the C players that go, yeah, I think I can do that. And then they ghost you. But the A players will say, no problem, I'll get it handled, and it actually happens. That's using a little bit of truth serum to see if you're hiring the right person. And the third piece I want to talk about is using data. I was fortunate enough in my career to be exposed to the predictive index in 2003 with a large automotive group. And I've used it ever since and been close with it. It's a great system. It's data that shows how you can look and see how people are wired. Not saying you have to use predictive index, but you could use something like DISC. I know a lot of the OEMs use DISC as one of their preferred programs. The one thing we want to talk about is just don't use nothing. Use that data to see if you're getting the right person. So interviewing strategically, using some truth serum, and using that data to see if you've got the right person to hire the right candidate.
And Jason, if I can just chime in with a few words.
Absolutely.
This is such an underserved topic in the retail automotive industry, let alone in retail fixed operations. You know, we all know we need this stuff, but we don't talk about it. and we don't hear about it enough. So thank you so much for bringing it to the forefront here at today's conference.
Absolutely, Ted. Yeah, it's really important because a lot of times when we hire service advisors, we look so much at that experience. They were with this dealership or with this particular brand. And then we also look at the other side. Well, maybe they were a great technician and they'll be a great service advisor. Without really, they're kind of missing the boat on it. Is that the actual right person that we want in that desk? So that transitions over to the skills that we need to work on. Now, I got some stats here from the United States Navy. They operate 3,700 aircraft. They consume 600 million gallons of aviation fuel each year. And they execute 68,000 sorties, which are practice flights. Why? It's either practice or crash. The skills that they're giving these pilots, and these pilots continue to skill up, are making them the tip of the spear. And let me tell you this, those men and women that are flying those aircraft, they are the tip of the spear. So when we look at mission critical skills on the service drive or on the phone, what are we talking about here? So mission critical skills for service advisors, well, number one, they have to have the ability to work with people. And when we talk about working with people, they have to be the people person, but they have to learn how to understand the motivations and needs of customers. And when we look at service advisors, really at that write-up process, that's really what that walk around and that reception process is designed to do, to understand the human you're going to work with for the rest of the day or for the next couple of days if you need to keep the car. The second piece is asking great questions, and we have to go far beyond asking diagnostic questions. We're going to go far beyond just open and closed-ended questions. We're going to ask questions that really determine how this makes the customer feel. What are their needs and motivations? Because that's going to give us the ability to connect the value, which is bullet number 3. If we can connect the value of what we're offering in terms of repairs or services in the shop, then it can connect with what the customer wants to hear. There's a lot of examples where we talk about that guy that throws the keys at you. They're highly dominant. They want it done quickly. And then all of a sudden the advisor goes to a different type of motivation. Well, you missed the boat with that customer. So you got to understand how to connect that value. The fourth piece is creating next steps. And creating next steps, connecting those values and motivations together to where you can actually go from persuading that service customer to actually partnering with them, to where the service customer is going to feel like, man, this person's really working with me. We're walking together to get this vehicle fixed. And then the last bullet here is build and maintain relationships. This is the 5th mission critical skill for service advisors. By building and maintaining relationships, you're actually going to get lifetime retention. And Ted, you know, and the viewers, our model and service is always built on retention. We got to keep the customer coming back to our store. And I like to look at service advisors being at the forefront of somebody's address book of life. And I don't think there's a lot of service advisors who are actually in the customer's address book of life. And I'll give you a little example of that. A doctor is in your address book of life, and you probably should know his name. It's Dr. Bill. Dr. Bill takes care of my health. And then you got a guy who takes care of your money. That's your financial consultant. Mine is Brendan. Brendan, he takes care of my money. But very few people actually have a service advisor that they've built a relationship with to where they can say, you know what? David is my service advisor because he takes care of my car, and that car is the thing that makes all things happen for me in life. These are the 5 mission critical skills for advisors, and we really have to work on those day in and day out. The last piece I want to talk about is culture. And the Navy builds that culture of teamwork and accountability, and it's intentional. So the 3 things that the Navy really does well that you can do in your service department: create individual debrief meetings to coach performance. It's a shocking statistic that naval pilots, or Air Force pilots for that matter as well, their debrief times are actually longer than what the time they are in the air. Now, I'm not saying that you should debrief your service advisors longer than where they're on the drive, but there needs to be some debrief meetings to coach individual performance. The second piece is you got to create team best practice sessions to recognize skill work. Think back to the movie Top Gun, where they're all the pilots, after they've gone on their hops, they're sitting in that debrief room watching the radar tape, and they're really looking at best practice sections, and they're recognizing that skilled work. And then when something doesn't go right, they're actually talking about how that cannot happen again. Same application can be used on a service department. The third piece that's really close to us at Quantum 5 is create rewards around the skills that impact KPIs. And it can go well beyond just hours per RO or dollars sold. We can do some things that really dive into CSI, and not just the overall score, but there could be certain sections within the CSI survey that really show what skills the advisors are really good at. Again, this is something that you can do in your service drive tomorrow to really impact your key performance indicators. And I know every service manager's had this situation where they spill coffee. Just imagine that that's not a fighter jet flying by the tower, but it's actually a customer cruising by your office ready to talk to you because you might have had a lone wolf. Maverick in the movie Top Gun was a little bit of a lone wolf. Jester, the flight instructor, had said to Viper so famously, his fitness report says it all. He's a wild card, flies by the seat of his pants. And I know each one of you who are watching this today, your service manager, thinking, yeah, I got a right person out there. He actually has the right skills, or she has the right skills, but it's not the right culture. It doesn't fit in, right? And that's where Maverick was that loose cannon. So I like to really emphasize that if you want to get forward in 2021, you got to make sure that all three of these things are truly coming together. So what's the formation plan for success in 2021? When you look at a formation flight, and you know what, Ted, I really love this picture of the Blue Angels. This reminds me of a flyby before a race. But that lead plane number one, is always in control. And that's your plan, but that's you as a service manager. And you got to be leading the people. And so if you have the right people who's sitting there on your right wing, and on your left wing, they've got the right skills, and then bringing up that 6, and always has your 6 as that right culture, the success that you will have going forward will be great. But you got to put all these three things together, and it takes some work. But you'll find out that when you have the right people who possess the right skills, and you have the right culture flying them, then you can have Blue Angels on your service drive.
I love that. I love the analogy of the Blue Angels and the right people, right skills with the right culture. You know, going back to that last one, Jason, culture, you mentioned the need to debrief. And, you know, that is becoming a rare skill out there in the retail automotive world, and how necessary it is to debrief right away, not later, not tomorrow, not next month at the end of the month. We need to do it now on the field, you know, when all the action is taking place. What do you think?
Absolutely. And you know what? You're one of your keynote speakers, Dave Anderson. I know all of us in the car business, it's a worship level for all of us because we've seen him at NADA and the greatest training days ever. We just understand that he talks about that often. And it's really, when you have that culture there, especially in fixed operations, everything just seems to work well. And those debriefs, it's so important when you really start diving into how you debrief with an advisor. It's really to improve performance. And you're giving them that feedback instantly, same day. I always like to say to service managers, it's kind of a did it today worksheet. So what did you do today? What are your wins? What were some of the challenges? And when you do that, you start to create that intentional culture of accountability as well.
Now, Quantum 5 brings all three together, and you're doing that with technology enabled that's really going to be able to help dealers. And I know we're all excited for you and what you have going on. We're putting a QR code up on the screen. And for our dealers and for our managers who want to learn more and to be able to fly like the Blue Angels and to do it right and to be able to set the path correctly, we're going to have Jason available in a Zoom room immediately after this segment. So folks, if you want to go ahead and start scanning that QR code, you'll be able to meet with Jason right after the event today and do some networking with him, find out more about the Quantum 5 technology. And Jason, exciting times. It's the right time for your product. It's so needed, and training needs to be not just in place, but reinforced and done it in a smart way. And you're the first one to bring that to market. So congratulations to you.
Thank you so much, Ted. Yeah, we are super excited. And thanks for putting up the QR code. Like you said, we are ready and willing to help with anybody. My direct phone number, my mobile phone is down there scrolling on the bottom, as well as my email address. I am open for conversation with anybody who wants to reach out, and just wish everybody a really successful and safe and healthy 2021.
Jason Frank, Executive Vice President of Quantum 5, here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Well, thank you, Jason. We appreciate you, and we look forward to getting to know more about your company moving forward. And remember, folks, if you want to talk to Jason, check out that QR code. Ted, we've got a lot more ahead, so everyone stay tuned to more on the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Rev it up. Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable with Ted Ings, everyone. I'm Gene Girdley, and Ted, I'm excited. We have another great panel here on Rev It Up.
Gene, you've been down in the pits seeing all the action close up, so you got a unique perspective on this whole thing. So exciting, Rev It Up, a lot of energy, a lot of activity, and really looking forward to this panel. I want to go ahead and introduce the moderator of this panel, great friend of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, one of our founding sponsors at the very earliest stage, Dave Boyle, who is the CEO of Tire Profiles. Dave, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thanks, Ted. It's great to be here, and I am so excited about this panel today. Probably a little biased, this is what I do every day. So we're talking tires again, and I am so happy. But what I'm most psyched about is this panel. We have a distinguished group of guests here, to say the least. And I want to take a couple of minutes to introduce everybody, because there is over 100 years of experience on this panel. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to learn something today, so I am stoked. First and foremost, we have the coach himself, Mr. Mike Vogel. Mike's no stranger to these events, obviously, everyone. He's the co-founder of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, and he is a seasoned industry veteran with over 30 years fixed operations experience, and I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that there's nothing that Mike doesn't know about this business. Second, we have Mr. Leonard Buckholz, who is a service sales process trainer and facilitator with the Service Performance Group. Done a lot of work with Audi of America over the years, and he is also a coach. He is the founder of the Car Biz Coach fixed operations training company, working at dealerships all around the country. Our third panelist is Mr. Joe Clemente. Joe is the National Service Director of Service Operations for Mobility Works, national chain of wheelchair accessible van providers. There's a noble cause, I'm sure. He is a graduate of the NADA Dealer Academy with over 30 years of experience in the automotive industry, and someone with a unique perspective, perhaps, that we've got on the panel today. So fantastic company. Didn't know anything about it, Joe, until I did some research before this panel, and impressive to say the least. And last, and certainly not least, we have a newcomer to these panels, Mr. Justin Pomeroy. Justin and I become friends over the last few months. He's a former police officer. Thank you for your service, by the way, Justin. He got bitten by the car business bug a few years ago, and now he is the fixed operations director over the Foundation Auto Group, one of the fastest growing dealer groups in North America. And I'm particularly interested to get Justin's insight, because he's seen sort of both sides of it. What some people may not know in Justin's career is that he ran two of the largest Ford quick lanes in the country, and they were #1 in tire sales year in and year out. So I'm sure he's going to have some unique perspective on this. So guys, I am excited. Thank you so much for taking the time to spend some time with Ted and me today. Looking forward to your insight. I've prepared some questions here to take everybody through. Feel free to go off script if you want. We're here to have some fun today, so let's do this. Our subject today is why tires matter now more than ever, and it's obviously one that's near and dear to my heart. And as I said, I'm looking real forward to getting some of your insights to this. Joe, I'm going to start with you, if that's all right. Tires are a big push right now with everyone. Everybody's doing it. The former muffler guys are selling tires. The transmission guys are selling tires. The oil change guys are selling tires. Why is there such a big push right now in the service industry around selling tires?
Yeah, Dave, when you think about it, tires are the catalyst for long-term customer satisfaction and loyalty. But I want to take this a little more holistic. When we think about our vehicles, wheels are the mechanical link to our independence. So healthy tires, they're like the soles, right? They lessen the strain on joints. They provide stability and balance and safely transport valuables. When I think about the community we serve, the disabled community, their vehicle is their lifeline. So wheelchair accessible vehicles connect our clients to doctors, therapists, caregivers, and other medical necessities. So tires are the foundation that carries the burden of connecting our clients to the outside world. Their vehicles provide independence, the ability to reconnect with their family and friends, remain active in the work environment, and afford the opportunity to contribute to a society that they're passionate about. So when I think about tires and I think about our clients, our products give our clients the freedom and accessibility to go where they want to go, when they want to go, to do the things that you and I take for granted. So tires are, they are the care that provides safety and convenience, and it does more to serve clients' independence, our customers' independence. And tires, well, I see it this way. They're the gateway of safety that creates customer loyalty.
I'm sure, as I said, Joe, I didn't know a whole lot about your company until I first, sort of met you online a couple of weeks ago. And it's, but what an amazing service that you guys provide. These are amazing vehicles. I'm sure safety's got to play a big role in this too, right?
Yeah, safety is our primary aspect, right? Our clients, as I said, their vans or the wheelchair accessible vehicles are their lifeline. So we must make sure they're safe and reliable. That's a primary concern of every one of our operations.
Fantastic. Well, like I said, it's an amazing company, and I really am. I think that it's noble work that you guys are doing, serving that community, and it's impressive to say the least. So, thank you for your insights on that. I appreciate it. Justin, I'm going to turn to you as our newcomer here for this next question, because you and I have had this conversation many times over the last few months, and I know that you've got some insight here. So, dealers have lost a lot of market share when it comes to replacement tires. The aftermarket is pretty much the dominant force when it comes to the replacement tire market. What do dealers need to do differently to win customers back from the aftermarket? And share some insights of some of the things, if you wouldn't mind, that you did when you were running the quick lanes, because I think some of the things that you've talked about there are specifically applicable to this conversation.
Absolutely, Dave. So proper preparation, it's the 7 P's. We'll leave the one of the 7 out, but just proper preparation and prevents, poor performance. So when that, customers are exiting your businesses at an alarming rate year over year, I mean, the defection rate is probably the highest of any other, wearable on our vehicles. The one thing you have to do is take that personally. And I did. And so when I knew that my customers were coming into me, I was going to own them, and so if I knew that, for the past 10 years, mom and dad had been going to Discount Tire, that's something that I had to overcome. And so preparing for that, essentially I would always have, my NTBs, my discounts, these private entities that basically leech off of the dealerships and the marketplace that we created. I would always have that up to take that off their plate and say, look, you need tires. You're going to have them in the next 90 days because, I mean, that's one thing we can't live without is tires. You may not have to change the oil, and eventually it will be catastrophic, but you can't go without tires for very long. And so what I would do to overcome that is, discount and like-minded stores. They don't do some of the things that we do. They, such as alignments and rotate and balance for free and such as that. So having those tires, one, on hand and making them easily accessible and ease of business. 2 is just, go ahead and automatically try to overcome the objection, because the first thing they're going to say is, well, I go to this place or this place because they're cheaper. So in that event, a lot of OEs now are doing a meter beat, which is a great tool. And I can't speak on some of them, but I know for sure that Ford will reimburse you on your parts statement all the way back up to retail list. So it's not a loss for the dealer anymore. It's, the defection in the front side is a little bit, scary, but overall you're going to get your money back and you're going to retain that customer lifetime. I knew that, our with Ford and around the wheel program, that our tire program insurance was better than some of our competitors. So that was another thing. And then lastly, I could fathom why that a person would want to make a separate trip to another location to have their tires rotated and then go to another place to have their oil changed when it could be all done in one spot, one time. So preparing for that, giving the absolute most information that you can to your customer, overcoming the price negotiation, doing that shopping for them, taking all, objections off the table, front center, candor, and just being, a steward of your company and making sure that you provide a great service. That in itself is, people don't always want the cheapest. They want to feel valued, and they want to feel that they don't have to go out and shop you because they believe you and they trust you. And this entire industry is built solely off of trust. So if that says anything, I mean, we have to make sure people are trained to overcome the objections. We have to train them to value their customers, because if the fish aren't coming down the stream, guess what? There's nothing to catch. But just being proactive in everything that you do, being proactive, for your customers, for yourself, for your store. That's where I found the most return on overcoming and getting these customers back into the dealerships rather than going to the private entities.
You and I have had lots of conversations over the years, and my philosophy is similar to yours in terms of price. You don't need to be the cheapest, but you have to be in the ballpark, and you have to sell with value. And what I've always said, and this is conversations you and I have had numerous times, is that dealers have a huge advantage. Probably the only time they have an advantage of being more convenient is when the customer's there for some other reason. And like you said, why come in there for maybe it's a warranty repair or some other work that you're having done, find out you need tires, and then have to make another trip someplace to get your tires done. We need to do a better job, in my opinion, of leveraging on that convenience aspect that we don't often have, in the dealer space. And we do in this case, because they do come to us for other work, particularly during the warranty periods and whatnot. And I think that we need to do a much better job of leveraging the full service aspect. The other thing that you said to me one day that I really liked was, and well, I should say what I took away from it was your sort of, I'm not going to lose attitude. When you were working a tire deal, I mean, you would take the perspective that you're not going anywhere else. I'm going to make this work for you some way, somehow. And even if it came to, funding and if they couldn't pay for it and didn't have the money and their credit cards were maxed out, you'd actually, get them signed up for the Ford credit card and stuff like that to help them pay for that. And talk to me a bit about that piece of it, if you will, just a couple of seconds, because to me, that's another thing that I think every OE has a financing option for service. And I don't think near enough dealers take advantage of that. And tires can be a fairly major expense, as you and I both know. And I think that this is another opportunity for the dealers to win back some of these customers.
You bet. So, I mean, that's what stuck my hair up, right? That's what gave me the chills on my neck, is when I got that, no, I'm going to have to, go back to the husband. This is your first household purchase that, one has to consult the other before just swiping that card and making that decision for the other person. That, these usually are things that are, considered a household decision. And so even if that was the case, we can call, whoever it is, he or her at that point in time, and have that discussion. But whether the person's sitting on a black card or a wad of cash, giving that opportunity to say, look, I know you probably don't need another credit card, but this is credit cards for service and for service only. The wife can't go buy shoes on them. The husband can't go, to the gun club and purchase some new rifles. This is for service and service only. You can't spend it anywhere else. And not only that, it's 12 months interest-free financing. We're going to have, $160 back to the person who's buying these tires. Whether you need it or not, you can cut it up as soon as you pay it off next day. But who doesn't want to save that 160? And so whether you're, a six-figure income person or you're scraping pennies together, that's powerful. And then you don't have to pay for it for 12 months. If you do, need that time, you've got it. And so giving that up front, giving that up front is it makes that decision a whole lot easier.
We all take advantage of 12 months, same as cash at some point in our lives, don't we? I mean, why not? I mean, like you said, it's free money. So, no, I think it's fantastic. And I said, I think that the thing that I enjoy most about our conversations is your sort of, I'm not going to lose attitude when it comes to this. And I think that's what's so important. So my friend, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate your insight. Fantastic job for your first time doing this on our panel as well, too. You did a fantastic job. So I appreciate that. All right. Next up, Mr. Mike Vogel, the coach himself. You are up. Mike, here is your question. And I'm so interested to get your perspective on this, Mike. I hear 10 times a day that dealers don't make any money on tires. If this is true, it's quite two-part question. Is this true? And if so, what can they do about it?
Great. Well, thanks for having me on your panel, Dave. As you know from our previous discussions, I have a great passion, just like Justin and many other people, about tires. And to the question number one, yeah, it's possible not to make money on the tires today, but what about tomorrow, next week, next month, next year? There's so many reasons why you need to be in the tire business, whether you make $1 on the tire or $50 on the tire. You have to be competitive in the marketplace. You don't have to be the cheapest, as we all know, but you also have to know your market, and you have to know your tires, and you have to know what they should be sold at. Because we at the dealership level are still fighting a perception problem for decades. It started way back going back as far as me in the 80s with oil changes and the perception that we're more expensive. And that's not necessarily the case. Is it true in some places? Of course it is. But is it true in most places? Probably not. So overcoming a perception problem is huge. And I think we're fighting the same battle now with tires that we did with oil changes. So you may not make money today, but look at it this way. You sell the tire today, that locks in the customer that's already doing business with you to 2 or 3 visits a year for 3 to 5 years. Okay, the average gross on our RO is probably about $100. I might be a little conservative on that between parts and labor. Factor that over 3 to 5 years, let's say 6 to 10 visits, you're talking about $1,000 in gross profit per customer. You know, we start out in the business selling 100% of the vehicles. By the time the warranty period is over and a customer needs tires, we're down to approximately 30% of the customers. And then at that point, if we're not serious about being in the tire business, we're going to give away another 70% of the customers. How can you afford to stay in business and do that? It's insane. So, you know, I kind of look at it this way. In our sales department, and Justin just touched on this also, do whatever it takes to make the sale. Don't they do that in the sales department every day? They spend $500 or $600 in advertising costs per vehicle, and then they sell the car at cost or sometimes below cost just to hit objectives. Well, in the service department, our objective is to get repeat and referral business. And if we're not selling tires and we're not serious about it, we are not going to see the repeat and referral business that we need to see to be successful. So, you know, I think the takeaway from this needs to be, we lose future service opportunities. We lose future sales for our sales department, and we lose referral business. Now, if you asked anybody outside of the automotive industry if they were okay with that, you know what their answer would be: hell no. So, you know, there needs to be a lot more effort put into it, and not worry about the one single sale of the tire. And focus on, we have to provide a great service, and we have to provide tires at a convenient. We have to provide tires at a value pricing, and we have to be convenient for them. So,
you know, Mike, you and I have talked about pricing a lot, you know, when it comes to this, and margin and where they make money. And I know one of your philosophies on this has always been that it's the other stuff that goes with the tire is where you make your money. And I think we all agree that, you know, you should never put a set of tires on somebody's car without doing an alignment. I mean, it's just not a good investment. It's not a good, you know, and you know, these tire companies out there that don't even offer alignments, I just don't understand their value proposition. I mean, customer could spend $1,000 on a set of tires, and you might, you know, expect to get 45,000 miles out of that set of tires and get half of that because you've got some sort of minor alignment concern. It just makes no sense. And when we add in mounting the balance and the alignments and some of the other work that we might get along with it because of that convenience factor that I talked about earlier, when you look holistically at the value of the tire sale, there is gross to be made, right?
Correct. And one of the things I didn't touch on, I'd like to add to the conversation is we need to build our business not for just today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, but what's the business going to look like in 5 to 10 years as more and more electric vehicles roll out and there's less repair work on engines. There's more electrical and diagnostic, obviously, but there's a lot less moving parts. There's not going to be oil changes even. So what's going to be left? If you're not planning and preparing for the future now, you're going to be caught way short in the not too distant future. So
I got somebody sent me a sort of a study that Tesla did on a long-term mileage study that they did on one of their sort of mule vehicles. And it had, I think, 300,000 miles on it. And they published the service and maintenance work that was done over 300,000 miles. There was one repair for the air conditioner, and there was 4 sets of tires. That was it. Nothing else.
Crazy.
There's nothing else to do. But I one of the things I did take away is that those big, heavy battery cars chew up tires like crazy. So yeah, I mean, it's, you know, this is a changing world when it comes to that. I mean, as we continue down this path of electrification and other alternative fuels, I mean, there's just going to be, like you said, less and less work to be done, and dealers really need to take advantage of this. But I know you and I have had many conversations about this. I am just a big believer in the fact that you can make money at selling tires. You just have to be smart about it, and you just have to change the way you look at them. So, my friend,
and your future business too. You know, yeah, maybe the car should get in alignment when you sell the tires, but we look at the roadways in America today; they're horrible, pretty much everywhere, especially major metropolitan areas. And the industry standards say that you should be doing alignment probably once a year, and a wheel balance probably once a year. If you're not selling the tires, are you going to get that incidental sale? Are you going to get the brake jobs to go along with it? You know, you're going to miss out on so many opportunities. So I think dealer principals and general managers and fixed ops managers need to look at the big picture and not be so stuck on the one sale. Don't be worrying about effective labor rate. Don't worry about the gross profit percentage. Don't worry about the hours per hour. Let's look at retaining the customer long term. That's the only thing that's going to create success long term.
Love it. Couldn't have said it better myself, Mike. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate your insight as always, and thank you for all you do for everybody in this industry and for this roundtable. We really appreciate it. Okay, we're going to move up to our last speaker now. Leonard, it's your opportunity to get up there. We're going to wrap this up with you. Here's your question. What is the biggest competitive threat to dealers have when it comes to the tire business? Is it the aftermarket? What is it themselves? What's their biggest competitive threat?
It's a great question. I mean, it's one that I think the whole industry is struggling with right now. Actually, you know, when you look at it, let's go back, you know, 20, 25 years ago, right? I'm a convert. I was not a tire sales guy. And when I first started off in this business, I didn't sell tires. I was like, oh, why do that? But as the playing field has been leveled by all the different options that we have, right? All the different suppliers of tires, now we can offer a customer several different choices. So we've removed, you know, most of these price barriers. I mean, if we take a customer and compare apples to apples, we can pretty much match a tire price for them, right? We're going to be close, right? Or we may not be exactly priced, but we're going to be close. We're going to be able to offer that value-driven customer an option so they can buy tires from us. So looking at the competitive landscape, that's been leveled. I don't think that tire price should keep us from selling tires to a customer. So what's left? Well, actually, when you look at the competition, and what we do is we found that the competition is us, right? It is our business to lose, right? That's how I look at it now. It's not the customer going someplace else. It's our opportunity to convert that customer while they're in the service drive. And we all know, Mike touched on it, and so did Justin, we all know that electrification is coming, right? And the intervals have increased over the last, I mean, when I started in this business like you guys, we were seeing customers 2 or 3 times a year, and now we don't. So the intervals have increased, which means that now when a customer comes in, we have to educate them. We have to coach them. We have to train them. We have to show them the life cycle of their vehicle and the life cycle of their tires. And when we don't do that, when we don't take that opportunity, as Justin said, to build a relationship, when we finally do talk to the customer about tires, the first thing they say is, you guys are just trying to sell me something. You're just trying to take advantage of me while I'm in for service. And that goes back to that building a relationship. So it is up to us to coach and train our service sales team on, hey, you need to guide your customer in their vehicle maintenance, also in the life cycle of their vehicle and their tires. And should you fail to do that, you're going to end up being the expensive warranty repair facility that nobody does business with. And that's what we have to do. I mean, the competition is now focused on us. It's not out there. It's us inside our business.
Yeah, I think that was, I think perfectly put. It starts with the right mindset, and it starts with, just committing to it. You mentioned service intervals. I saw another piece of data the other day that was shocking to me. In the last 20 years, we have gone from the number of service visits per the life cycle of a vehicle has dropped from over 33 to 10.
Right.
I mean, that should scare every dealer on the planet. We've gone from seeing customers 3 times a year to once, and we have to do a better job, like you said, every time we get the customer in, particularly when it comes to tires, but just in everything that we do. So
totally agree.
Thank you, sir. It was a pleasure to hear from you, and I appreciate your input on this. So I think we have time. I think we're going to do this fast, though. This will be our lightning round, or in the Rev It Up theme, this will be our qualifying lap. I've got a bonus question here, guys, and I need you to keep your answer to a sentence or two. It's going to be tough, but we're just going to try and jam in one more quick question here at the end. So aftermarket data suggests that new car dealers have an 8% market share when it comes to tire replacement. We talked about a lot of things today. Dealers need to improve upon that 8%. In a sentence, and we talked about a lot of different things, but what is the most important thing that dealers need to do? Joe, start with you.
Embrace the need for tire replacement. It's the catalyst for future growth and customer loyalty.
Justin?
Echoing him, realization that it's an absolute necessity, just as oil changes or anything else, putting it in front of our customers every visit, giving them a path, and then being convenient when it comes time to buy those tires.
Perfect. Mike?
I think we have to do a better job of starting from day one of coaching the customer about selling the green on the tires and talking about it. So to Leonard's point, the first conversation you have shouldn't be your car needs tires and the customer's perception is they're trying to sell me. It should be from day one, your tires are good. Okay, they're starting to wear down. We're down to yellow. And next thing you know, we're at red. And by the way, you need tires. And we've already had several conversations, at least, let's say 2 to 5 conversations about tires and how they're wearing. So I think that's a big part of it.
Perfect. Leonard?
I think it's about giving our advisors the confidence to present those tires to the customers when they are due. And that goes back to, all the points we've all made here about coaching and training our service advisors to make that sale at the appropriate time and building that relationship during the life cycle of the vehicle.
Perfect. I'm going to add my half a cent in on the tail end of this, because you guys know that I have to sometimes. I get asked this question a lot, as you can imagine. That's the business that I'm in, and I get dealers asking me this question: what do I need to do? Or what do they say? What do we need to do? What does my dealership need to do? And I spin the question around, and I said, it's not a we question, it's a you question. And the answer is the guy that's staring back at you when you shave in the morning. This is a fundamental commitment that starts at the top in every dealer. And if every dealer in this country just said, you know what, I'm going to commit to selling tires. It's like Justin said, it's like Mike said, if every dealer just committed and said, you know what, I'm going to commit to selling tires the way I sell cars. I'm not going to lose one. It's that important to me. Then that market share would go from 8% to 80%. And half the aftermarket facilities out there would be out of business. So guys, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. This has been a wealth of information. I know I took some notes here. Every time I do one of these things, Ted, I learn something, and This has been a fantastic panel. So Joe, Justin, Mike, Leonard, thank you again for your time today spent with us and the insight that you provided. And in this theme of Rev It Up, Ted, back over to you.
Hey, Dave Boyle at Tire Profiles, leading the way in inspecting tires and creating all kinds of opportunities for dealers in the retail fixed ops area. Dave, your technology is second to none. You're ahead of the curve on everything you got going. I want to thank you so much for this panel, as well as Mike Vogel, the coach. Mike, for all that you do, past and present, and we'll continue to appreciate everything to help put this panel and quite a few others together. Justin Pomeroy, first time here at the Fixed Ops Roundtable, first of many, I hope, and great insights, spectacular. Congratulations on the growth of Foundation Automotive Group. You guys are rocking it. We're continuing to watch as the group continues to just expand. Fantastic. Len Buckholz, we go way back. Remember, we took a leap of faith when we announced that Fixed Ops Roundtable in May of 2019 was going to be at the Beverly Hilton, right? So thank you for all your help in supporting this and making it happen. And Joe Clementi, great job. Mobility Works. I got some stuff I want to talk to you about offline. So fantastic. Welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. You're first of many as well. Gene, great job on this group today.
Hey, it was a great job. And Ted, we're in the midst of 3 days of amazing panel speakers and special guests, and you don't want to miss 1 minute of the Fixed Ops Roundtable Rev It Up. Stay with us.
Do you have a great product you want to get in front of auto dealers across the country, and specifically their fixed ops departments? You know, their service, parts, and body shop? For over 15 years, Fixed Ops Magazine has been putting service-related products like yours in front of franchise auto dealers across the country. There simply is no better way to reach every dealer in the USA all at once. Hi, I'm Ron, the publisher of Fixed Ops Magazine, which is both a digital at fixedopsmag.com and print magazine that reaches out to over 38,000 subscribers who influence what products are purchased in the over 16,000 dealers across the country. Fixed Ops Magazine may even publish your article about a topic you are an expert and have a real passion for in this industry. Every article has the author's contact info so they can reach you. Write an article, run an ad, and an e-blast. We call that our bundle for success. You won't believe how great a deal it is. So to get started, call, text, or email me and I'll tell you more. We are 100% devoted to the franchise stores so we don't waste your time or money. We are laser focused on your prospects. Fixed Ops Magazine, the #1 way to get your product in front of auto dealers today. www.fixedopsmag.com. Ron at fixedopsmag.com. 714-803-5476. Fixed Ops Magazine, the #1 way to get your product in front of auto dealers today.
Well, Ted, it's always great to hear from David Boyle, and what a great panel that was. And next, we have a great guest who's a wonderful friend of the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Ron Overs, welcome to the program.
Thanks so much, Gene. Really appreciate it. Look forward to this whole few days with you guys.
Ron Overs, everyone, is the publisher at Fixed Ops Magazine. As Gene said, a great friend of this conference and a big supporter of everything that we're doing, and we are as well of Fixed Ops Magazine. It's the #1 publication in the industry for fixed ops and second to none. So, Ron, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you, Ted. Really appreciate it. You know, we've been hard at work getting out this first issue of the year, which I'm saying is the best issue of 2021. Well, it's our only issue so far of 2021. It has some really great content, including.
I think it is the best issue. I've had a chance to take a look through it.
Well, that's great. It actually has an article by yourself on a service walk around, which is really, really pertinent for today because, you know, bottom line is fixed ops is making these dealers work and today, and, you know, taking something as simple as slowing down and walking around the car and, you know, and really, really finding those opportunities to take care of your customers. It's really great. But we've put together 10 articles again, which is our goal each magazine of things that we really need to focus on in the fixed ops department. And the first one, of course, was our our Parts Excellence Award, which you'll find is our lead story with from Mike Rich at Revolution Parts. And it's a great story, and it really does go through talking about how important parts availability, having parts when your techs need them, and yet not having parts sitting there, just costing you money. And really great article. So
Mike does a great job at Revolution Parts. He'll be here at the roundtable tomorrow.
Fantastic. Well, I look forward to listening to everything that he has to add to it. But we were talking about the industry and just in general how things are really positive right now. People are receptive to new ideas, the technology solutions that are out there today. We're working really hard to make sure that everyone knows what those solutions are that are available to them. And they can, pick up our magazine, of course, for free at fixedopsmag.com and just jump in, be part of the group. And I tell you, it's a good family to be part of because there's always something, each issue that will help you do your job better in fixed operations.
Fixed Ops Magazine and Fixed Ops Roundtable both have similar business models, Ron, when you think about it. We both have the content complimentary. It's for free. And our business model is sustained by the sponsors or the advertisers. And that allows us to put all this out there. And you're doing the same thing at Fixed Ops Magazine. So what a great 1-2 punch here, especially at this time.
Yeah, no question about it. I always would say, no matter what I ever did in my past was, okay, if I was in the role of the person I was talking to, how would I react to what I'm about to tell them? And when it comes to it, our advertisers today, when we talk to them, it's like, what are you trying to get across to these people? How can you make their lives better? And let's do it in a way, either in a story or in just in your advertising, that's going to say, this is how I can make you a better service manager, parts manager, fixed ops director, whatever your role is within the store. So it's a good focus.
If I'm a dealer or general manager or fixed ops or parts or service director, and I've got Fixed Ops Magazine, the new issue, again, January, February, what are some of the benefits of me having that issue, looking through it, and being able to catch up on what's going on in the industry? What are the benefits?
Perfect example. Even if you're a service manager, right, and our lead story is on parts, and you're going, well, that's not relevant to me. And the answer is, it clearly is relevant to you because how you want, good CSI, and your customers are not going to be happy when they come in and you don't have that part that's necessary for that car, and you got to bring them back in 2 weeks with the part. And so the idea is that you learn all aspects of the business. And I don't know anybody who's totally satisfied in the role they're in, and they're looking at it and say, if I'm a service manager, I want to be a fixed ops director. Or if I'm a fixed ops director, I may want to become the next general manager of this store. And by getting a full rounded perspective of what's available in all the different aspects of fixed operations, you just become just a better resource, for your store.
Yeah, there's no question. And it keeps you relevant, and you know what's going on in the industry, you know what's current. And you're right. If you want to keep moving up in the industry, and now we're seeing that movement is happening, not just with people on the front end, Ron, but we're seeing fixed ops and service people moving up into the general manager seat. I'm seeing it all over the industry where I didn't see it as much 5, 10, 15 years ago. That's happening. You want to be aware of what's going on, and Fixed Ops Magazine is the place to be to make that happen. Ron, I also want to thank you on behalf of the Roundtable for your contribution to Dealers versus Cancer, which is sponsored by Belavia Blatt, Len Belavia, and the Prostate Cancer Foundation. Thank you so much for doing that. We got Jay Leno coming up on the show on Thursday.
Yeah, unbelievable to get such a talent as Jay Leno to come in. But the Dealers versus Cancer, I think, is just such an important thing. One of the things I saw lacking in the magazine was at least one human interest story every month of something or some way of living better or contributing more than just to, today's work process. And so we try to, in every issue now, put something in there. And Len's story of his battle with cancer and how he's back and how the organization is just flourishing since is a great one. Len is the centerfold, his company, of our next issue. Okay, so he's got page 34 and 35 is his corporation and all the things they can at dealer law that they can do for you with warranty processing and things like that. So I think Len and his team are just great people, and we are proud to support his charities for sure.
It was one of the big reasons we were able to get Jay on the show, because of the charitable nature. And, obviously, Jay's got a deep automotive background, right? He really understands it, really second to none. And he also understands the dealer aspect of it. So we actually had a lot of fun, and he's going to help us here. So everyone, we appreciate anything you could do to help us take up that $50,000 challenge, Dealers versus Cancer. Ron and myself and Gene are as well. We've all donated and continue to do that. So we support the cause. So great stuff there, Ron.
Well, thanks so much. And exactly, I think it is time to rev up things like that. Exactly, right? Let's get stuff like charities where we can help, and every little bit does help, as you said. We're not looking for one major blast. Everybody puts a little something in. It adds up to a great addition to their fight against cancer.
One last question: if I'm a fixed ops service or parts manager, what's one thing, as we look ahead to 2021, here we are in February, we've got 10 and a half months ahead of us. What's one thing I need to be aware of or focused on moving into this new year that maybe I hadn't thought of as yet, based on what you've seen in the industry?
I think the big thing is that the all of the new programs and things with, remote, pickup and delivery of vehicles, mobile service, all those things are not going to go away. That's going to become the new norm in the business. So I think several guys maybe stood back and said, well, okay, as soon as everybody gets a shot in their arm, we'll be back to normal. And the answer is no, we won't. We already see the virus mutating to other things, and it's going to take some time. I think, a year from now, we're still probably going to be wearing masks, unfortunately. And the reality is we want to make sure that dealers understand, fixed operations understand, they need to really buy into all of these new processes that will make their customers happy and make them just a better dealership. So no more waiting. Get in the game. Do all the things that you hear the best dealers doing.
It's time to grow your business, everybody, and get more profitable than ever, and be aware of what's happening, what our consumers want. Fixed Ops Magazine is the place to find all that out. Ron Overs is the publisher of Fixed Ops Magazine. Ron, thank you so much for everything that you do for our industry.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate the opportunity to work with you guys.
Well, thanks, Ron. And folks, don't go away. Lindsay Rodriguez with Team Velocity is coming up next. Well, everyone, I'm excited to welcome back Lindsay Rodriguez from Team Velocity. Lindsay, we're glad to have you again on Rev It Up. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Gene, for having me. Excited to be here.
Everyone, Lindsay Rodriguez is the Senior Vice President of OEM Strategy at Team Velocity Marketing and a great friend of our event. She's a previous Best Practice Award winner here at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Lindsay, welcome back to the event.
Thank you, Ted. It's great to be here with you.
And the same here. I thought we would take this opportunity today to talk a little bit about you and your background. And I think for our attendees, you've got a really fascinating, work-life balance that's going on in your life. And I know a lot of attendees will be doing some of the same things. So tell us a little bit about your background. How did you get into the car business? Was that a plan from the outset or what?
Definitely not. I went into the car business when I was 18 years old. I started selling direct mail to get me through college. I had a fast track. I wanted actually a super slow track because I wanted to become a physician. I knew exactly what I did. Yeah, I wanted to become a doctor. I was actually a pre-med major in college. I majored in biochemistry. And then as I got through college, my husband and I owned a sign and lighting structure business after we moved to South Florida to also help get us through college. And during that, I went and bought a car from a dealership down in South Florida. And the salesperson was like, "You are the most difficult person ever." Of course, my husband was super embarrassed because we probably walked out a lot. And I remember being in the Wendy's drive-through, and the salesperson's like, "Hey, I didn't realize you were with a credit union. He goes, I didn't realize you're at the credit, or I didn't realize you were with the credit union. We can save you that $1,000 that you were trying to negotiate with us." And I'm like, "Of course you can." So I went back to the store, ended up buying the car from them, and he gave my name and number to some guy in Tampa. And the guy called me and he said, "Hey, I'm really, interested in having you come help us. We're a new startup." And I'm like, no. I was like, "Well, if I do decide to do it by the end of it, this guy continues to be the best salesperson I've ever met in my life." And I go, "If I do decide to do it, I'll have a break between when I graduate in December until August." And he goes, "Okay, great." So November of that year, he called me. And he goes, "Are you still going to start with me in January?" And I said, "Oh, okay, I'll give it a shot." So I was in between my bachelor's degree in medical school, applying to med schools, and I took this position. And when I came on, within the first 2 months, being in South Florida, utilizing an Excel spreadsheet to call on dealers, we grew substantially. And it was, again, a really, really small startup company. So by June, I bought into that company. And then a few years later, we sold. So it was an equity mining, data mining company. It was a fun ride, and some of my dearest friends still are there today. So fast forward, I was with Dominion for a couple years. And then after that, I joined Team Velocity and have run their OEM division for them since 2013. So that's a little bit about how I got started. I've always liked cars, though. I mean, my dad told me when I was 14, "Hey, I can't afford to buy you a brand new car, but if you save $10,000, I'll, sign on whatever car you want. But it has to be paid off by the time you go to college." And I did that. So, yeah, that's a little bit about how I got in.
You're very impressive, succeeding in the male-dominated industry that the automotive business is notorious for being. Lindsay, tell us about your career now. What's your primary area of focus right now?
Yeah, so today there's a couple of different divisions that fall under me. One is OEM. The other is enterprise relationships, which includes the large dealer groups, as well as more of those strategic partnerships. And then AdBid also fall under me today. So, the OEM, I would say, is a primary focus of what we're doing this year. It is, and there's a lot of similarities between OEM and enterprise. So the larger the group, the more they function like a corporate company, like the OEMs. So we are committed. This is I think going to be a great year for us. And I also think, as we look back to last year, there is just a lot of stuff we learned with COVID. I was riding in the car with my husband. He's like, "Hey, has business really been affected? Doing everything virtually?" I haven't been on a plane since March of last year, and I was literally traveling a few times a week. And I'm like, "No, we've adapted to this ever-changing environment, and it's busier than ever." So as you open this conversation up with balance, it has been a new world to try to navigate balance, even being at home all the time. So I support an amazing team of individuals that serve the manufacturers as well as these large dealer groups. And that's what we do today.
Let's expand a little bit on that balance, Lindsay. I know you're dedicated to the business, and I know you want to make the industry better and working towards that. But tell us about raising a family. You're balancing a lot there, and you've got some men in your household too. I understand.
Oh yeah. I am the only girl. So I have 5 boys, actually 6, because I do have a husband too. But I do have 5 incredible boys. And I'm, really trying to raise good quality men that can contribute to society in a mighty way. And that I believe that I was given a gift to have boys because I'm also strong, right? And strong-willed. And we just, you talk about balance. The truth is that I often get asked, how do you do it all? You manage a career, you manage people, you manage a home, you still cook dinner, you still throw in 20 loads of laundry and fold it all weekend and stuff like that. How do you do it all? And the reality is, I don't know. I still try to figure it out every single day. I've tried to truly perfect it. I will say though, that I've also had good people that I work with, good leaders that I work with, that my old partner told Team Velocity when I went to them, they said, the only thing you need to tell her is no. And what they mean by that is when to shut off, right? Like, no, go do this, go spend time. So the reality is, Ted, that I still try to figure that out. I will say though, getting into a routine for me is probably most important. You know, my feet hit the ground at between 5:45 and 6 a.m. every day. 3 days a week. I have calls that start at 7 in the morning. I then try to take a little time to get the kids ready for school and get them going, and then, you know, the workday starts. And I think though, going back to really learning through COVID how to adapt to specific environments has also helped me, because you know, I told somebody this the other day. You know, I used to be in a car and my kids used to be in the back. I'm like, okay, nobody say anything. I'm on a work call. Shh. With this ever-changing world today, like, our families are getting more incorporated into our virtual environments. Our homes are getting included here too. So, you know, the reality is, I still do laundry. A lot of it, I still cook. But I try to be as prepared as possible. Plan out our meals, plan out, you know, when I'm going to do things. And then there's also the free-spirited side in me that just is like, okay, we're going to go with the flow. But, you know, I think one thing that's important is I screw up, and I don't always do things the way I should, but the reality is I do it with the right heart and the right intentions. And sometimes, you know, it works, but other times, you know, that I gave it my all no matter what. So I would just say, if I had to give any advice in terms of balance, just try to get on a schedule and a routine, and do in advance what you know in advance. If there are things that you know that are coming up, try to plan your day around those, and try to incorporate your family in your day. Like, if it's at all possible that I can, you know, walk out of this office and eat lunch with my kids, I'm going to do it, you know. And
what ages are your boys?
Oh, so I have two 15-year-olds. I have an 11-year-old. I have a 6-year-old, and I have a 3-year-old.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, I have, actually I have I say that I have 5, and I absolutely have 5. I have 4 of my own, and then we took in another 15-year-old in February of last year. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Tell us about the similarities in raising a family and leading people to serve in the automotive industry.
Wow, that's a great question. Actually, it just gave me chills. You know, I think the reality is that every day is different, but each day is an investment in the future. And I see that both in my children and also the people that I am privileged to lead. People are my world, and people are what mean the absolute most to me. I believe if you treat people right, business will come, things will happen, you know, but at the end of the day, I'm in the business of helping other people change their life. And that's all. If I can give them a smile and get them through their day, I've done my job, you know? So I teach my boys that you don't have to be the smartest person, but you better not let anybody outwork you. And you better have a good attitude every single day. I mean, I've pulled my kids out of a dugout before for putting their helmet down a little too hard. You know what I mean? And I think those are life lessons that we need to all adapt to and adopt, really. You know, I tell my team the same thing. If you have a good work ethic and you have a good attitude, I can teach you anything, or you can learn anything that you want to. And I think another part is I also allow my boys to fail. I think we've adopted a society that's allowed us to just come in and save them from everything. And although that's my natural instinct, that's not real life at all. And I allow them to fail but I'm always there to pick them up. And I think that translates also over to my team, because I empower them to make their own decisions. And I think my life's greatest lessons were from my failures. Nothing good happens inside no growth, I should say, happens inside of your comfort zone. So going back to my team for a second, I always tell them that if you make a decision that's the wrong one, if you do it with the right heart and the right intentions, I will always have your back no matter what. We can overcome any bad decision as long as you have integrity and you made it with all the facts that you had in hand. And I think, again, that's where we learn and that's where we grow. So I think in this business, we have to be able to accept failure, because failure does produce growth as well.
This really speaks volumes also for Team Velocity and the people that are behind Team Velocity. Let's talk a little bit about that. What should dealers and OEMs be looking for this year in terms of service marketing, since I know that's one of the main initiatives that you've got going in 2021?
Yes. So it is one of our major initiatives for 2021 is service marketing. But I think our overall initiative is to look at the entire life cycle for a consumer. And I think what we've done a bad job on, to be quite frank, is this business is built in separate silos, right? You go to a dealership, you've got sales, you've got service, you've got pre-owned. You go to an OEM, you've got sales and you've got service. They all operate independently of each other. And in the past, they've all operated independently of each other. In 2020, I think we all saw a huge shift in that. OEMs are starting to hire customer experience managers, right? They're trying to look at the entire consumer journey. And I believe that that was an amazing movement in our industry last year. So I would say, as far as service marketing is concerned, we need to start looking at the entire consumer journey, breaking down those specific silos. We need to have more of a comprehensive consumer journey, which will result in overall better customer experience. Additionally, I think we need to ensure that we have a service to sales strategy. And what I mean by that is allow the results, results overall increase the sales. And by saying that, I think it's important to understand that we've always kind of adopted this. For years, we've been working on how do we take people out of the service drive and move them into a new car. It starts way before that. I think we need to activate digital audiences, which will create a higher ROI. And I also think measuring activity is important. I believe that we are the only ones in the industry that actually measure activity. We make invisible customers visible. We watch all of their online experience, and then we are able to respond to that. Based on, triggered emails, or what we call precision emails. And I think also, we need to overall look at measuring that activity versus response rates for attribution like everybody else does it.
Last question for our audience watching today. You've been very successful in the car business. What advice would you tell a young woman who's thinking about a career in the automotive industry in 30 seconds?
Okay, in 30 seconds, I would say it's an amazing industry. Women are the minority still in this business, which gives us a unique advantage. We're intuitive, we're caring. We can see, the room for what it is. When I go into rooms with, quite frankly, it's a bunch of men that I go into rooms with, and my voice, I think, is heard with a great openness. As you know, at first it might not be, but we've earned that respect over time. I would also say that, though, in this business, we need to work on a couple things. We need to work on fostering environments that women are attracted to. We have to be flexible. We haven't been flexible for many, many years, but I think I'm encouraged to see that we're allowing more flexibility there, and put benefits in place that women are also attracted to. The reality is, research does show that women have a higher level of emotional intelligence. And I think that that's the glue of a lot of these great organizations. So, I would say, hey, go paint your picture, because you can absolutely do this in this space.
Lindsay, this isn't nearly enough time. I'm going to ask our audience if they'd like to have some of their questions answered by Lindsay, whether it's on her career path, your own career path, everybody, some thoughts that you've got about the car business, and on Team Velocity and on service marketing and things that you can offer also for this year in 2021. We're putting up a QR code. If you go ahead and open your phone, open the camera and scan that, that'll take you to a Zoom room, and Lindsay will be there to answer some questions for you. So great opportunity right now, everybody, for some one-on-one time with Lindsay Rodriguez, Senior VP of OEM Strategy at Team Velocity. Lindsay, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Ted and Jean, for having me. It's always a pleasure to see you all.
Great seeing you too, Lindsay. And folks, you want to stick around. The training panel, sponsored by CDK Global, is coming up right after the break here on Rev It Up at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
With new traction software from TPI, the consumer will receive the results of their tire and alignment check sent directly to their smartphone. As soon as the tire scan is complete from either the Groove Glove handheld scanner or the TreadSpec drive-over scanner, the results of the scan are sent to the consumer via text message. By clicking on the link in the text, a personalized interactive tire health report is generated for their vehicle. Each tire's condition is displayed showing the appropriate color based on the amount of wear. If they click on the tire, the wear profile is displayed for the tires on that axle. Showing the side view of the profile, color-coded based on wear, has proven to be the most effective way to graphically show the consumer what they need and help increase sales. If the vehicle needs an alignment or rotation check, the inspection icon will be illuminated either by the steering wheel or the rear axle. The alignment page graphically shows, using video animation, what the problem is: toe or camber wear. The TireWise assistant helps explain why doing an alignment or rotation is important. With Traction, your customers can shop around right in your waiting room. They're gonna do it anyway, so why not make it easy for them and control the process? By selecting the Shop Around icon, the consumer will be able to see competitor prices. Our state-of-the-art software pulls from pre-selected competitors their current prices for the same tire or alignment service you quoted. Research shows that the vast majority of customers are going to price shop you. Our software allows you to control who they shop, what they shop, and when. You don't need to be the cheapest, but you need to be competitive, and you need to make sure they're comparing apples to apples. And most importantly, if they're not, you need to have the opportunity to educate and explain. You can't do this if they leave and go home and shop around. The web-based e-Tread Tracker report also makes it easy to pass this information around. So, with one click, the person in your store can send all the same information to a spouse or parent, so a joint decision can be made. Not everyone will buy that day. In fact, the data shows that roughly 50% will need more time to think about it. You must have a way to follow up with these customers, or you'll risk losing them to a competitor. And we all know if you lose them for tires, you run the risk of losing them forever. The Management Reporting module in Traction produces a suite of reports that gives you actionable data to help manage this process. Missed sale opportunity reports, future yellow tire, marketing reports, and most importantly, a scorecard that shows how you're doing and how each of your people are doing individually. The old saying, "Inspect what you expect," gets a 21st century upgrade with Traction, with fully automated reporting that allows management to easily and actively manage this process. It's the ultimate tire and alignment selling solution for dealers. Traction, powered by TPI.